Lynn is a Ayurvedic practitioner, hope I pronounced that correctly, who is able to bridge the divide between the worlds of Western and Eastern medicine in order to enable her clients to achieve optimal wellness. She's worked with large groups in institutional settings, such as the Jewish General Hospital, as well as with clients individually in person or online. Lynn trained as a nurse at John Abbott College and the University of Montreal, where she completed a Bachelor of Science degree. And Lynn worked as a registered nurse for 25 years in a wide range of some areas, including cardiovascular and thoracic surgery, cancer management, and in the neonatal ICU. It's a very broad range of different areas. In 2009, she began a journey to expand her expertise through intensive immersion in Eastern medicine. She worked with various experts in the field, including the well-known Ayurvedic practitioner and educator Anita Sharma, author and director of Ecole Satyam, the Hatha Yoga Herva Blondon, and physician and director of the New World Ayurveda School, Dr. Paul Douglas. And Lynn has been practicing Ayurveda practitioner for 10 years and lives in Montreal, Quebec. And she is a proud member of Beth Tikva. Let's not forget that. So, Lynn, you have a very impressive biography and CV. Let's jump straight in. First of all, how are you this evening? How are you doing?
I'm perfect, thank you.
Wow, what an answer. I don't think anyone gives, you have to be a meditation teacher to give such an answer. Okay.
It's a practiced answer.
Good.
It reminds me that I'm okay in the moment.
I love that. My practiced answer is, things are terrible, Baruch Hashem. No, thank God things are great. Things are great, and I'm especially happy to be here with you this evening. So let me give a little bit of an introduction. Lynn, we are approaching 6 months. I'm using arbitrarily the 12th of March, only because that was the day that schools closed down. I think that's a pin in the map for me. That's a line in the sand, March 12th. I remember it so vividly. But if I take March 12th as my date, we are approaching almost 6 months of quarantine, of lockdown, of dealing with a global pandemic, of loneliness, of increased levels of stress, of increased levels of anxiety. We have been dealing with dramatic changes to our world, globally and locally. We've been dealing with a rupture of everything that we knew, and at the same time, an adjustment to trying to come into a new normal. And with that, and we're actually right now Zooming one another with the new technologies that we've started using, we've started feeling the impacts of those, where no sooner was everybody on Zoom than articles were popping up everywhere about Zoom fatigue. So we haven't really been able to catch our breath. And what that has led to people struggling. Let's, in plain, simple language, people struggling with life, people struggling to keep up in every which way that they were trying to keep up before. Now, this isn't our topic for this evening, but let's be honest, I don't think people were really keeping up even before. But certainly these last 6 months have been challenging in the extreme and has presented us with a great many challenges. When I think of the psychological state that so many of us are in, maybe all of us, as far as just being stressed, tense, anxious, shorter tempers, difficulty with interpersonal relationships. How can we find help? What are some of the basic tools that we can seek out that, on the most basic of levels, would be able to give us some type of help? What do you think?
Well, I think the first thing is to give ourselves permission for not being perfect, and to lean on our history to be resilient. Next comes tools. And one of the easiest tools that we can use is our breath. When we breathe, and we breathe deeply, it enables our diaphragm to press against the largest nerve, parasympathetic nerve in our body. That's the nerve, the system that enables us to reset. So if you were to say to me, what would I do? What's the easiest thing for someone to do is what they tell people all the time: take a deep breath. Okay.
I'm
The only
taking one
thing
now as I'm listening to you, actually.
So that's the first thing. Is I often tell people to remember to breathe.
Yeah.
Okay.
It feels better. It feels better.
Yeah. And that is something I would put a little stick-it note on our, on your computer, which most people are using so often, is every time you take a look at that or remind yourself, take a deep breath. The second would be a series of exercises that are really simple, and we can actually do them today. That will take a few minutes if you would like me to show them to you, so that people have an experiential of how that feels.
Okay, absolutely. I want people coming away from tonight with a practical take-home message and tools even. So
Okay.
message number one is take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath. And the second message is, if
That's
you
when
can't...
and immediately afterwards, we reach for the glass of wine. That's
yeah.
okay.
The
So
second,
far, so
the message about the breath is that when we're in fight, flight, or freeze, a lot of people forget about what freeze is. And freeze is when you're stuck and you don't know what to do anymore. Okay. So I just want people to be able to know that they can be feeling extreme stress in 3 different ways. Either they are running like crazy away from a wild animal or for their family. Okay. Fight would be the argumentative, angry, aggressive, engaged. And the freeze is the person that just gets stuck. It's it's the deer in the headlights. Okay. When we're in this state, we often are only able to breathe into our upper chest. And a lot of people will tell me, I can't get down to my belly. And that's okay. Just breathe put your hand on your chest, put one on your chest and one on your abdomen. Close your eyes for a moment, or keep them open and focus on something, whatever's more comfortable. And start by just becoming aware of the feeling of the breath as it enters your nostrils. And notice what that feels like. Notice if the breath is silky or if it's rough. If the breath is warm or if it's cooling. See if you can notice the difference now. Notice if you're breathing more in one nostril than the other. Is there more fullness in one side than the other? Now notice the feeling of the rise and fall of your chest. Just be aware of it. And breathe exactly the way you feel. Not more, not the way you think you should be breathing. Be completely in sync with how you feel. And have a sense of humor about it if you're breathing a mile a minute, which I often do. They say you teach what you most need to learn. I'm the example.
I like that.
It's true, though.
Now, what we are doing right now, is this called meditation?
No, this is just breathing.
This is just breathing.
And the only reason I'm talking you through it is to get you aware of your breath. Because a lot of people, when they're racing, like I think of it like a car going 100 miles, 100 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
If you tell someone to stop and just take a breath, they can't do it. But if you take someone in steps to get to their breath, then it's not difficult. And that's the point of what I just suggested. Notice the feeling. Notice the sense, cold or hot. One nostril or the other, because it shifts every hour and a half. Does your chest rise? Does your abdomen rise? That's it. And then, as you're breathing, to breathe completely in sync so that you don't feel breathy. Not like you should be taking deep breaths. And what I find the mystery of us is that at some point the breath becomes more expansive and we're able to breathe a little more. And some form of shift happens within us spontaneously. And the fun part about it is letting it happen and just watching it. So that's the first tool that I would recommend to you.
So when you say it shifts and it changes, how long may you be doing those breathing exercises for when you are thinking about them, noticing them, and just being aware of them?
Probably between 2 and 5 minutes.
Okay. Now, I think an average person watching this certainly has between 2 and 5 minutes of their day. We all do. We all do. I think nobody, the busiest of the busiest, certainly has between 2 to 5 minutes of their day where they can stop and notice their breathing and breathe slowly and follow.
I would suggest, though, that they breathe exactly where they're at.
Okay. But my question, however, is why do so few people do it? I don't think. No, I don't. I'm making an assumption here. I preface this. This is an assumption. I don't think people stop to breathe because when I speak to people, it's few and far between people like yourself that have this poise and this slow intention of answers and choice of words, and they're able to say, I am perfect right now in the moment. There are not many people like you. So what's stopping the common person in the street from breathing? And before you answer that question, I don't know if you have the answer, I will share with you, you know what this reminds me of? There is a ingenious app that Apple put onto their watch. I have a feeling you are someone that does not have an Apple Watch. Am I correct?
You're correct.
Yeah. There's a million assumptions that went into that guess.
And my last name is Watchman.
There you go. I just had a feeling you are not someone who has an Apple Watch. But you know what Apple put on their watch? There is a feature called Breathe. And every so often, I don't know, I think you can program it for how frequently,
Yes.
like every 2 hours, every 6 hours, the default mode, you will get a little ping and you look at your watch and it says, breathe. And if you click OK, it will take you through a 1-minute breathing exercise. And I think to myself, people think this is genius. People rave about this as one of the greatest inventions ever. And I find it fascinating. And I'm trying to not be cynical about it, but I find it fascinating that we have made our lives so complicated that we are now at the point where we strap a computer, a very powerful computer, onto our bodies. And when the computer tells us to breathe, we are amazed at how genius the technology is. I think there's something very wrong there. I can't quite articulate exactly what the problem is, but we have put our lives into this amazing position where we are amazed, wowed, blown away by the fact that by strapping a powerful computer onto our bodies, when it tells us to breathe, we think it's incredible. People are not doing this. First of all, why are they not doing it? And secondly, how can we, without needing an Apple Watch to tell us to do it, how can we start this practice? What are your thoughts?
Okay. Here's a very short answer, but I think succinct.
Please.
I think that, number one, it's not our fault.
Okay.
I think that we have very ancient wiring to our nervous systems.
Okay.
I call it caveman wiring.
What does that mean?
What it means is that in the olden days, different things like sounds would set us off and say danger. And then we go into fight or flight or freeze. Today, we have millions of sounds and stimuli from computers, from electronic equipment, from the rapidity of our lifestyle, okay, from cars and horns and at our pace, that is constantly triggering our nervous system. But our nervous system isn't evolved enough to differentiate physiologically a bell from an animal in the jungle coming after us. So we're constantly being triggered. We're in a fight, flight, or freeze mode. And we don't have time to smell the roses. So we forget to breathe.
That's fascinating. Great answer. Part 2. How can a person inculcate these practices into their life? And we've started on the most simplest of levels, breathing. How can a person make that a part of their daily practice? What would you suggest? Person comes to you, maybe cynical, maybe not, maybe they're open-minded, but they want to just have a sense of inner calm or work towards that. How do they make that a practice?
I'll tell you my personal experience.
Please.
Okay? Because today I am calm because I meditate.
Okay.
When I don't meditate, I'm not calm.
Okay.
And I have explored practices over the last 20 years to different meditation practices. I do a practice called heart-based meditation. It is a universal practice. There's no religious affiliation. And it is a form of what's called automatic self-transcending. Okay. Other practices like it are TM, Primordial Sound by Deepak Chopra. Basically, practices that are using sound as a vehicle to get into the right brain, the right hemisphere of the brain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it is effortless, and I've had the most success working with people that have stress and anxiety in being able to do it. So that's the practice that I do. Am I answering your question then?
I think so. You're actually opening up a new avenue, and this is very, very interesting. There is a key book on Judaism and meditation.
Mm.
And allow me to speak for just a moment on the misconception about that combination, Judaism and meditation. For many, Judaism is a set of actions, a set of beliefs, a set of behaviors. And for many, meditation is a discipline of the mind. And immediately people believe that there is a disconnect or even conflict between those two because they're speaking different languages. That's the first mistake I think a lot of people make. Second mistake a lot of people make is that meditation has an Eastern connotation to it, whether that be Buddhism or a non-Jewish frame of reference. And there is hesitation sometimes to embrace meditative techniques or meditation in general, feeling that it's something external and extraneous to authentic Judaism. And one of the landmark books that was written on this subject was a book called Jewish Meditation by the author Aryeh Kaplan. Aryeh Kaplan, Jewish Meditation. And he was a great thinker, a deep thinker. And he actually wrote many books on meditation and Judaism, actually. And he, towards the end of one of his books, starts giving practical guides as to how it might be implemented. I think he spends a lot of time saying how they're not in conflict with one another. And the first parts of these books are almost a defense of the synthesis. And he wants to argue, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, thinking that these are two worlds that don't have anything to speak or say to one another. Actually, they're like a Venn diagram, there's a lot of overlap. And towards the end of one of his books, when he starts speaking about practical ways of one implementing these techniques, he actually speaks about something that you just brought up. I don't remember the technical name for it, but it was the making of sounds, primordial sounds.
Yes.
And I remember I must have read this book, I don't know. Maybe I was in college. This was like 25 years. I don't remember when I read this, but like many, many years ago. And one of the techniques that he suggests were two different sounds based on letters. One was the letter mem, the m sound, and to simply repeat the and there was this repetition of this m sound, and the other was the shin, the letter shin, to create a sh sound. And there was an alternating between the and the sh. And he said that it was through this practice that a person was able to truly still their mind and to be able to start exploring in their mind different levels of what he would describe as consciousness. And it made a tremendous impact on me at the time. And I would actually prior to praying, I think I was reading this book in yeshiva at one point, and prior to saying tefillah, our prayers, I would actually, just for a short period of time, try to put myself in that stillness of mind. And it was fascinating. It was fascinating. And the Talmud actually says that the early pious individuals, Hasidim Rishonim, shocher sha'a achat lifnei tefillah. Pious earlier generations would shoher. What the translation of shoher is, no one really knows. Pause, meditate, breathe, introspect, have contemplation. It's all of those connotations. Shoher. They would pause for an hour before they would pray. And then they would pray. And I find that incredible. This is a Mishnah in Brachot. If people are watching or listening, a Mishnah in Brachot. The early pious ones would pause for an hour before prayer and then pray. Chasidim Rishonim shocher sha'achat lifnei tefillah. So this is a part of our tradition. This is a deep part of what it means to have the right mindset. And it's something that I think we are greatly in need of. How would you respond to some of those ideas, some of those thoughts?
I think that everything you're saying is, I agree with, and I've experienced it myself in my own growth as a Jew. Because I would describe the act of meditating as a way of emptying the mind, but not forcing it into a stillness, but soothing it. I call it rocking the ego, until singing it a lullaby until it rests, and then that wiser, or perhaps the soul, is able to present more fully and be. And it's in that process I have found that the clarity shifts and the peace comes and the growth happens, because the awareness becomes greater and greater.
That is very profound and also very simple at the same time. And I think that many people who have simply tried that can nod their head and say, absolutely, I understand exactly what she is saying.
The one thing that I found, because I meet with a lot of people who have high anxiety, is I say all roads lead to Rome, so all forms of meditation will ultimately take you there, but it might take a lot longer one way than another. And what I've found is that in order to maximize your ability to let go of the stress, so it's kind of like taking an airplane up through the clouds so that you can see the sun, is that you need an easy way to do it. When we have to focus on something, which many people are doing, and it's not right or wrong, but a practice of focusing on it, your breath, mindfulness, for example, is phenomenal for helping you to build self-awareness, for pain management, for pushing aside negative ruminations. Okay, being aware of that. That's why it works so well in psychology. And that's what it's known. That's why it's so well known in that milieu. The technique that is best known for the relief of stress, and therefore the ability to transcend and have that clarity, is automatic self-transcending. And the
What does that mean if if
what
I'm
it's a
listening to these words?
great question. Great question. What it means is that you do it effortlessly. You actually have to effort to let go. And letting go simply means repeating the sound effortlessly in a comfortable position with good back support for 20 minutes. And if you have a high stress level, I would have you start at 7 or 10. And just every time you realize you're no longer repeating the sound, you simply go back to it. And you do it in the way that you would be rocking your own child. You don't judge it. You don't go quickly, hard. You shouldn't be there. Go back to sleep. You would wrap it in a blanket so they'd be cozy. You'd shift their position so they were comfortable, so that you can let go. And it's in that state of deep relaxation, like sleep. But this is a practice that is deeper than sleep. They're showing on EEG patterns, you're emitting alpha waves in the prefrontal cortex. It's as complex as I'm going to get. But what it's saying is that it is a physiological restfulness deeper than sleep that allows for the unloading of the nervous system, a literal letting go of the stressors, so that your physiology has an opportunity to reset itself. The practice might feel like a workout, but how you feel after the practice is how you judge the meditation.
So could you give me an example of this? What would the execution of this meditation look like?
Fabulous question. When I go to meditate or I help others to learn it, I'll have them sit in a comfortable position and we do a practice of breathing. It's what I call the warm-up to make meditation easier.
Okay.
And there's an old method where basically we're breathing in through one nostril and out through the other. And I can take you through that at the end so people have more tools. I've used this practice with many people in the hospital waiting for test results or waiting in oncology to go see their doctor. And it's phenomenal. So we do this for 5 minutes and it helps to equalize the left and the right brain. So it's our warm up. And then sitting in a comfortable position with a blanket. Why? Because if our body temperature drops, which it will when our muscles relax, we're going to be cold. And it's very hard to be relaxed when you're cold. So that's why we have it. We start repeating a sound. And as it happens, they are 2 sounds. They're 2 vowels, which I give you. And you simply repeat them silently to yourself, effortlessly.
When you say silently to yourself, so you are not making a noise with your mouth?
That's
It is
correct.
in your own mind. So if I'm making the M sound, for example, it's in my mind that I'm making that sound.
That's correct.
Fascinating. Okay, keep going. I'm learning. I am a beginner here, and I certainly am a newcomer to this. So keep going. It's fascinating.
Well, and you will repeat it. I use a timer. Most people tend to drain the nervous system within 20 minutes, about 85 to 90%. It's down, it's emptied.
What does that mean? Drain the nervous system.
Very good question. It allows for the stressors that we hold on to
Mm-hmm.
to release.
So the
In this,
person is in a state of relaxation. They know that they have drained the nervous system when they are no longer feeling tense.
no, they will experience the difference when they are out of the meditation. When the bell rings that 20 minutes is over,
Yeah.
okay, they'll feel different. they'll feel more like there's space in their head.
Mm-hmm.
There's more space, there's more room. That's one of the things I hear from people all the time.
Okay.
Another thing that I hear very often is that, like when I did this program at the Jewish, staff weren't quarreling with each other as much. Their relationships improved because you had the ability to stand back more and see the bigger picture rather than being as reactive. So a big, big thing that people would tell me and do is less reactive, more responsive.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So they were able to let go of their stresses. They were
They don't
able,
try. It happens effortlessly
so that is an
because
outcome of the practice.
yeah, the the outcome will appear that way
The outcome.
because
Yeah.
they've enabled their physiology to shift from sympathetic fight or flight to parasympathetic. Everything's perfect.
How long does that last for? Sounds great.
I would, well, it's recommended.
And then like a 3-year-old says, I need you to change my diaper. And then it stops, right?
Actually, this is what happens. When you've been meditating,
3-year-old isn't
probably,
anymore. It's the
no,
1
no,
year
no.
in the diapers.
What's recommended is twice a day.
Twice a day.
And it's like brushing your teeth. When
Okay.
you wake up in the morning, you have a whole night's worth of film on your teeth. And I would liken that to the stress that we hold on to in our physiology
Okay.
overnight.
Okay.
Okay.
So people are waking up stressed.
So you wake up with that. You brush your teeth, i.e., first thing you do in the morning is you meditate. And you don't need to do more than 20 minutes. Then you have a great day.
Just like that.
At,
You have a great day. I love it. It's I'm coming back as you in my next life. This is fantastic.
I want you to know something, okay?
Yeah.
I have not had, I've had a lot of challenges in my life. I had breast cancer. I had a neurotoxic poisoning that disabled my nervous system. It was likened to cerebral palsy. I had this for 4 years.
Wow.
And the first year I could barely get out of bed and didn't know if I'd ever be able to again because no one knew
Mm-hmm.
if I'd be okay. But it destroyed my nervous system. So it was only, and with the breast cancer, that constant scared, fearful, will it come back, that cycle of meetings,
Mm-hmm.
appointments. I was able to experience what meditation did for me in many different situations, to understand that it's not it's nothing personal. It just lets go of what we're holding on to so that we can have a better appreciation for what's right here and present without trying. I can feel, if I haven't meditated for a day, my old churnings coming back. Not as much as before, but stress doesn't go away. It's a part of life. One of the things that's lost in much of the Western world is respecting the fact that it's there and it's normal. But most people don't know that it should be it should be respected. And respected to me equals, okay, have a self-care routine that includes releasing your stress on a daily basis, like brushing your teeth. And if you did that, you'd be able to experience the difference. I do it twice a day, in the morning before I eat and in the late afternoon. 20 minutes is all it takes. And it's changed my life.
Amazing. Amazing. And anybody can do this.
Anybody. But a lot of people learn on apps or without
Mm-hmm.
teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of not the way it was meant to be taught.
Right.
It really is. I was trained for a year to learn how to teach it and to learn how to help people as they cleared out the stresses, the self-awareness that came up, and issues that came as a result of this self-awareness. So to me, to learn different techniques without any guidance, or as I'm navigating through it, the different subtleties of how to improve it and make it better and better and better, well, I think it does us a disservice when we're trying to learn. So I learned from a wonderful teacher, Dr. Paul Douglas, and I was trained by him. And the same with my yoga teacher, Hervé Blondin. I always had a mentor in meditation, and whatever type you choose, I would encourage you to do the same.
Fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're nearly out of time, but where can people pursue this if they wanted to learn more about it, specifically the meditation that you teach and some of the practices that you have been trained in? How can people explore this further?
Well, I offer free online orientations.
Okay.
So if you would like to know more, you can go to my website,
Okay.
which is www.lynnwatchman.com, which is on all of your material that you sent out. And people can send an email to me, and I will fit you into the next orientation. And at the same time, I teach these techniques. I offer them, and I also offer a daily free online group meditation at 10 o'clock and at 5 o'clock. You're never required to sign up for it. All you have to do is show up. So once you learn, or any meditation you do, okay, this is a universal, come join, it's silent. You have 5 minutes breathing, 25 minutes meditation, and then you can leave or share if you like. But it helps people hold to their practice in a community that is supportive.
Incredible.
All of it's free, and you can sign up on my website.
That is amazing. So that is lynnwatchman.com, and a free orientation as well as a free daily group meeting for
Twice daily.
Twice daily for a group.
7 days a week.
Wow. Wow.
Well, it's selfish.
Of course, on Shabbos, we would have a natural
Oh,
state
yes.
of
Oh,
meditation,
yes.
but that's a whole other conversation.
Oh, yes. I can't wait for the holidays.
Well, me too. Me too. And I feel like I could listen to you forever, and I feel already more relaxed. Whenever I listen to you, Lynn, you have a calming tone, and I feel good. I feel more relaxed, and it's
I'm
working.
honored, my goodness.
It's working. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank you.
Thank
This,
you
I
for
feel,
inviting me.
this is almost the beginning of a conversation. I feel like there is so much more to touch on and to go into, but we will pause here for this evening. And I hope that those who are watching and those who are following up will indeed have gained something from this evening, as well as maybe even follow you as some of the free opportunities that you are offering them through your practice and through your website. Thank you so much. This is so appreciative. And allow me to wish you and your whole family a Shana Tova, as we are getting ever closer now to the new year.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share this
Oh,
practice.
my pleasure, my absolute pleasure. And I
Shana
hope for
Tova.
those of you who are watching, this was of benefit and of use. So thank you so much, Lynn, and thank you everybody for joining in. Just like to leave you by saying we are continuing our Monday night classes at 8, the 3 most important relationships you have. And next Wednesday, I will be joined by Mallory co-hosts as we are discussing a completely different world. What does Judaism have to say about veganism and Jewish food ethics? Okay, we will pause here for this evening. Lynn, thank you so, so much. I really appreciate your time, your wisdom, your soft voice, your tone and your guidance. Thank you.
Thank you. Be
Have
well.
a good evening, everybody. Bye.
Bye.